Aftermath have an odd history. Forming back in 1985 in Chicago, Illinois, they were a little late to ever be considered an early thrash band, and even a little too late to gain enough momentum to survive the 90s. But, like most bands of the time, they did try. Their first demo came out in 1986 and can be found online for you to check out. Otherwise, a pretty limited compilation will likely be your only option if you feel you need to own this or any of the demos for that matter. They came storming right out of the gate with this demo, playing a technical type of thrash metal with a no compromise approach. They clearly had their own vision. Their musicianship and compositional skill was already above that of most thrash bands, especially for 1986. The music here is fast and challenging. You can hear a little bit of Slayer in there, but also the early work of bands like Cynic, Atheist, and with a touch of stuff like early DRI and early COC. The second demo came out a year later, 1987, titled Killing the Future. I'd say it was a logical progression for the band. The same elements of the first demo are here, although the production is several steps up, despite having the same producers. I'll also add that it was recorded in a different studio. This demo was professionally printed, showing that these guys were serious about moving forward.
Describing this obsession to people that don't know. The self-destructive admiration is getting out of control.
Demo number 3, Words That Echo Fear, was released in 1989, showing that they took a little extra time with this one. The same producers were used, but to my ears, the production sounds a little more rough around the edges than the previous demo. Sound-wise, this is not a huge departure from Killing the Future, but you can hear some nods to where the band would be going. Subtle keyboards would show up, adding some experimentation and originality to their Slayer and DRI type sound. I wonder if these boys were listening to prog rock, because some of these compositions were definitely headed in a more progressive direction. Not every band could pull this off back in 1989. In 1990, Aftermath would put together a demo specifically to send to Roadrunner Records. The demo features 4 songs that would also appear on their debut full-length Eyes of Tomorrow from 1994, but they would not be signed to Roadrunner. As I said, Eyes of Tomorrow, the band's debut full-length, would be released in 1994. I am not sure if it took 4 years to complete this album because they wanted to take their time, or if maybe the struggle of getting a record contract was starting to really wear on them. That said, Eyes of Tomorrow is a masterpiece and cult classic of epic proportions. This is the album that they were working towards, and this is the sound that would define Aftermath as a band. All of the previous elements are on full display here, with an emphasis on challenging themselves on their musicianship and songcraft. If I were to guess, I'd think that these guys were listening to early Atheist and maybe even Anacrusis, but I could be wrong. If you are a fan of quality thrash metal but prefer technicality and sophistication, this album to me is a 10 out of 10, and I cannot recommend it enough. In 1996, Aftermath would record 4 new songs for a promo package to be sent out to record labels. They had to self-release Eyes of Tomorrow, and I imagine that after 11 years of not securing a record contract, the band would become disillusioned and would lay Aftermath to rest soon after, which was a huge bummer. No band this good should struggle like that. This 96 promo would see them experimenting even further with their sound. 1997 would see the members of Aftermath add a few members to their lineup and start a new band called Mother God Movie Star. That would be released in 1998 via Interscope Records. Finally, after 12 years of trying to push forward, someone decided to give them a chance, and a major label, no doubt. That said, it wouldn't last very long, and the debut self titled album would be the only release for this band. I would recommend this album to both diehard Aftermath and fans of progressive metal. It does sound like a progression from the Aftermath 96 promo, but maybe a few extra steps forward. The thrash metal elements are mostly gone, though they do make occasional appearances, and were replaced with a more proggy sound with electronic elements. Considering that most bands from this time were embracing the nu metal movement of the late 90s, Mother God Movie Star did not really seem interested in that. After being dropped from Interscope, the band would be over with and never to resurface. Back in 2011, after 15 years of being laid to rest, Italian metal label FOAD Records would release 3 compilation LPs full of the Aftermath demo material. Chinese label Area Death Productions would release a comprehensive type box set that would have all Aftermath material, including live rarities and even unreleased material. 2014 would see Aftermath reunite. I, for one, was both excited and intrigued. After 18 years of inactivity, the question is always the same: do they still have it? Well, I'd say no as a short answer. I am not here to talk badly about anyone, but 2019 would give us the comeback album There Is Something Wrong via the band's own label, Zoid Entertainment. Now, I mean, 23 years is a long time, no matter what we're talking about. People change. Rarely has anyone recaptured past glory after all those years. And while I can still hear elements of the aftermath we know and love, this album just does not work for me. No Time to Waste, the 2023 follow up to There Is Something Wrong, is pretty much a continuation, and I really don't have much to say here. I don't really care for either post comeback Aftermath albums, but you should really check them out because who knows, you might like them. And that is pretty much the history of Aftermath. Everything they did during the initial run is amazing and highly underrated. I'd recommend them to any fans of thrash or crossover to bands like Atheist, Demo Era Cynic, Candiria, or even Alchemist from Australia. The 1994 full length Eyes of Tomorrow has had several repressings and is pretty easy to find, so go get a copy while you still can. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Cheers.